Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review. In this video, I'll build Eaglemoss's Ghostbusters Ecto-1. I am on issue 6, stage 16. Let's get started. Welcome back. Let's look at the parts and the instructions for stage 16. So here we received the internal parts for the steering system. So that is next on our agenda. Let's look at the instructions. So once again, we do more work to the front suspension and we start assembling the steering. So we have 3 parts here and all the way up to 6 sections here. So let me get the parts out and I'll be right back. Here's the parts pack for stage 16. Got a lot going on in here, a lot of screws and some parts. So I'll take these out and we will get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts. We received the stabilizer bar, which is plastic. Stabilizer bar linkages, plastic also. 2 mounting brackets. And an idler arm bracket, that's metal. We received the pinion housing. Idler arm, pinion housing. Pinion base, and steering pinion. We received the steering column, the Pitman arm, and power steering hoses, 2 of them. We received BM, BP, DM, IM, KM, LM, and MM screws. The only parts that are plastic is the stabilizer bar and its bar linkages. Those are plastic. Everything else is metal here. I'll be right back. Step 1 for stage 16, we assembled the stabilizer bar, and this is all plastic here, so we're using BP screws, and we're simply just going to put the stabilizer bars on the bottom just like that, and we'll put a screw in from the top. Just hold that in place there and get our screw started. It's all plastic. There's one. Number 2. Just a little tighter. There we go. Now we'll bring our chassis over and we'll install it on the chassis. And we'll use some needle nose to hold it still while I screw it in. And we'll do the other side. Hold it up. Get the screw started. There we go. Next we install these C brackets to secure it to the cross member, and it does have a keyway on it, so it simply goes down on top of that keyway. and we put in BM screws for that. Turn this around so you can see it on the side camera. There we go. There's one. Two. Okay, they're both tight. Keyway on that. BM. Once again, BM screw. And that's done. That's what it looks like. Next, I assemble the steering arm, and we get two pieces for that. Simply inserts just like that. We'll put a KM screw on top. I already pre-lubricated it. And we'll screw that down. There we go. Now we mount that to the frame. Next we install the steering arm on the frame, and it goes right here. There's a mount for it. I already pre-lubricated it. Goes down just like that. And we use an LM screw for that. Nice and tight. Turn this around where it better can be seen. Next we install the steering pinion, and once again I'm going to use the Vaseline to lubricate the points where these mount to. So they mount to these 2 points right here. We're using 2 different screws, so we mount it down. Just fits in like a puzzle. The LM screw goes in towards the front. That's that right there. We put a DM screw in the back. Steering pinion goes in just like that. Pull that back out. So we take this steering pinion and we put it in there. I'm going to go ahead and lubricate it. Doesn't tell you you need to, but it's not going to hurt. There we go. Going to have to hold it, and we put this pinion arm on it, and it has a flat spot on it, so it keys into that. We put some grease on it, some Vaseline on it, both sides that it goes into, we put a DM screw into that. I'm just going to get it started, barely, because I'm going to use the rod to hold it still. I'm going to turn it around. Get it mounted to the steering mechanism. We're still using a DM screw for this. Should be able to feel where it goes. There it goes. And I'll tighten the other one down. There we go. That is in. That looks great. On step 2, we also install the lower Pitman arm on this steering mechanism, and we use a DM screw for that, just to get it started. There we go. And it still moves. Perfect. And just to show you how the steering works, I love it. It's great. Still, we have to get a cover on the back side of it, but we're not doing that just quite yet. Next, we assemble the steering column. Now, the steering column is made of metal, and it simply inserts over the gear mechanism for the steering, just like that, and will get sandwiched down with this cover. The inner screws that we install are going to be the shorter DM screws, and the outer screws on the cover are going to be the longer screws. So before I do all that, I want to lubricate it. So just like you would grease anything else, I'm going to throw a bunch of Vaseline in here to lubricate all these gears, okay, along with the steering column gears. So putting a lot in here and just making sure I lubricate everything. I'm going to put this down on there like it's supposed to be. I'm going to sandwich it down. I'm going to get started one screw on the inside. Kind of leave it semi-loose. And we'll put a long one, the screw. That was the DM screw I just put in on the inside. And we'll put the screw on the outside. And we'll finish installing all the screws now. This is nice the way this is engineered. I'm very impressed. This working steering with the gear box. It's very cool. I'm digging it. So we'll get everything tightened down. And there you go. That is all done. As I turn it, the steering wheel turns. Very cool. Nice. Next, we fit the engine to the chassis. So there's 3 mounting points on the bottom of the engine. Let's talk about those. We have the 2 front mounts here and here, and then we have the back mount on the transmission. So the engine simply goes down on the chassis, right here, and right there. So I'm going to take the engine and fit it down on top of the chassis. Back one first. and then the two front. Perfect. Now we need to turn these over. Okay, so before I do that, I want to go ahead and put some Vaseline on those mounts. There we go. And put those back in. Do the back first. And then the two front. They are not in. They are. Okay. So I'll turn this over. And I will put the back one on first. I just got it started so it doesn't pop out. Okay, so the front mounts take IM screws. So we'll start the front on the one side. And that's tight. And an IM screw on the other side. And there we go. All mounted up. Continuing with step 5, we already mounted our engine in the 3 points that we needed to. Now we install these power steering pump hoses. They go from the pump down to the power steering gearbox. So I'll use some tweezers to do that with. There's one. Kind of see how it's on there. I'll do the next one with my hand because it can be done with your fingers. There we go. And we'll go to the pump now. Go. And that is on. I may shorten those later so they'll look a little better. But there you go. And in step 6 we finally install a wheel and tire, and we're installing it on the left side of the chassis. Just make sure that your hubcap is lined up to the valve stem correctly, because it's been a while since we've had this, since pretty much the first issue, and it's lined up. And we're going to simply insert this over the axle. I already pre-lubricated the axle. There we go. And they want us to use an LM screw for this. So put an LM screw into this and tighten it down. There we go. It's a fairly tight fit, and then they want us to put the cap on. I'm just going to put the cap on loose. I'm not going to squeeze it on all the way in case I need to take it off later on. And that's all we do for stage 16. I enjoyed this immensely. It was a lot of fun. We finally got the engine mounted on the chassis, We got the first tire mounted on the left side axle. So there's a lot going on here when it comes to this particular issue 6. There's a lot of building involved, so be prepared for that. When you get 6, you're going to do a lot of work with this. It's a blast. So with that, please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe. Hit the bell for all notifications. Head over to Eaglemoss today and subscribe to this build. You will not regret it. This thing is huge. Look how it is compared to my hands. Very large. So with that, happy modeling everybody, and take care.